Humans indeed. It's been a while. I'm looking forward to this. Humans! Honda Trigger, thank you very much for your support. This is your second month now. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you're enjoying it. I love me some humans. Humans, whatever you want to call them. They're good folk. Alright, why don't we go ahead and get into it, folks. Hello, my name's Phil Gallagher. I run Thraben University, a site for legacy, death, and taxes. Today we're going to be playing 5-Color Humans, a donation deck list from Sci-Fi Emperor here in chat. Thank you very much for that, by the way. It's been too long since I've gotten to play this deck. So this deck list is not my own creation, although I helped tweak this deck list. So, 30-second deck tech, in case you've never seen Humans before and this is your first time playing the deck. Conceptually, it's sort of like D&T in that it's an Aether Vial Wasteland Thalia deck, but this one has a bit more disruption at the 2-drop slot with both like Freebooter and Meddling Mage, and it also is a touch more aggro-y because you have Champion of the Parish and Thalia's Lieutenant to really push damage and emphasize the like human tribal side of the deck. Otherwise, similarly to D&T, there's a toolbox element. You have things like Imperial Recruiter to go and search up a bunch of sweet one-ofs. And if you look at the sideboard, like, it's just a great example of sort of the cool things that you can search up. Like, if I just move these over to the side here, if we look at all the singletons in the sideboard that we can search up, it's pretty ridiculous. Deputy of Detentions is a 2-up, but, you know, we'll throw him in the pile. Like, we have 10 different creatures in the sideboard that, like, we can board in as bullets, as well as another Imperial Recruiter to go and find them. So this is a deck that you can really adjust well in order to sort of fight your local metagame. Or whatever you're seeing, really. As far as this exact deck list goes, there's not anything overly flashy here. Everything that's in here is stuff that's seen play at various times in the deck. There are a couple of cool pieces of tech that are new. Deputy of Detention is the new one. So in case you're not familiar with that, I'm just going to read that one off. So it's blue-white 1 for a 1/3, Vidalcan Wizard, not a human, but we'll forgive it. When it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls, and all other non-land permanents that player controls with the same name as that permanent until Deputy of Detention leaves the battlefield. So this is like Detention Sphere that's attached to a 1/3. And that's super, super cool. I think this card has a lot of potential, and this was one of the changes I suggested to the initial deck list that I was sent. I think this is going to do all sorts of weird things. Like, it's an awesome thing to like go and put in off of a show and tell, and it'll even just do like random weird things like, oh, you made goblins? Goodbye, goblins. Yeah. the sheriff is here. He has, I don't know what's going on in his art, like some sort of like Dragon Ball. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like he has the 6-star Dragon Ball there, and he's ready to just wreck people with it. So I'm looking forward to that. Vidalcan Tribal when? Ugh. Wizard Tribal we've done. I imagine that, like, just about everything that's a Vidalcan is a wizard anyway. I don't know if that's actually true, but in my mind, I feel like that's true. So I don't even know that it would be that much more interesting than Wizard Tribal. Yeah, so it's a Vidalcan wizard, not human. Doesn't technically, like, fit into like everything else being human. But like this card's so powerful, it's sort of like Knight of Autumn in that it's a good card to shove into this deck list, even though it's not human. Rather than play Knight of Autumn, there's sort of like 3 different effects that sort of cover that slot in different ways, and that lets you not have to like go into the green. Knight of Autumn is very good, by the way, but like keeping things to like the human tribe certainly has advantages with Cavern of Souls and Unclaimed Territory. Innistrad Revenue Service, are you online currently? Because I know you said you wanted to do a donation, so if you want to knock that out real quick, we can go ahead and do that. That would be awesome, thank you. Most Vidalkans are wizards, but they also have rogues, knights, scouts, and artificers. Awesome. So just kind of some asides while the IRS, the Innistrad Revenue Service, is booting up Modo. Just want to like talk about some of the stuff that I have planned for the stream. We hit the $48 donation goal for my next guest stream. I have extended that invitation currently to Min and Max. That is Maxtortion and oh geez, what is his last name? What is Min's last name? It's Min H. Min Hawk. There we go. Who recently started up a blog that's going to have like some legacy and vintage content, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with that. So I'm still like working up like dates and times and such, but it's looking like we're gonna have Max on stream. Then let's see what else. I'm in process of commissioning another piece of artwork for the stream. So that's happening sometime soon. And then I've set the next donation goal. The next donation goal is going to be matches against Phoenix. So I talked to Calum earlier today, and we're gonna try to get together for a set of exhibition matches of D&T versus whatever version of Phoenix he's playing at that time. So I'm really looking forward to that. And Innistrad Revenue Service, thank you very much for your donation. Let me go and get my... Oh, can I change that now? I can't change that now. Well, that's unfortunate. All right, stream, let it be known, we're now at $12 out of $36 towards the next stream, but apparently I can't change that manually while I'm also streaming. So, womp womp. But thank you for your support. Innistrad Revenue Service has donated for Wednesday's stream, which will be D&T. So thank you very much for that. What else is going on in the life of Phil? I did a D&T tutoring session on Sunday. That was a lot of fun. I had a newish D&T player who really needed some time with someone to walk them through some of the lines, talk about sideboarding, how to approach matchups, and that sort of thing. And it was fun. We spent about 3 hours just kind of like playing through a league and talking about the list, and it was neat. It's always fun to do those because you get to like watch how other people think and what they think about. So for example, like when they built their sideboard, they kind of looked at things that were in the D&T sideboard and threw them in, but that meant they ended up with like both Chalice of the Void and Canonist there, so I got to like explain how like those fight for the same slots and they're largely for the same matchups. So I enjoyed that a lot. All right. I'm going to whack the keep button here. This hand is stellar. Like, we have turn 1 Ether Vial, like, best thing that we can be doing in this deck. We have a Cavern of Souls to make Meddling Mage into Recruiter uncounterable. Like, we have Wasteland for Disruption, too. And our opponent's mulliganing? That is Calum. Calum Smith, who is, in my mind, the Phoenix guy right now. He's from London, I believe. All right, Arid Mesa, a little hard to tell what our opponent is playing at this stage, but Thalia uncounterable is probably good against it no matter what. So Innistrad Revenue Service, let me counter that by saying that, like, Cavern of Souls is in D&T very frequently as well, right? There's absolutely no indication yet that I am not D&T. And if anything, we've just gained an advantage by getting them to fetch a Tundra. Like, if this is Miracles and I've, like, gotten them to fetch a Tundra, this is ideal for me. Okay, so there is a world where they're not actually Miracles, and they are something else. Like, they could be, like, a Stoneblade deck or something like that. So I think I am going to, like, throw out the first Meddling Mage pretty aggressively, and then kind of hope they show me something on their turn that will, like, give me a true indication of what my opponent is actually playing. I think I'll probably put the first one here on Swords to Plowshares. I think Ponder is the other reasonable one to put this first one on. Hey, welcome. I'm going to operate under the assumption that they are Miracles. I may or may not actually be correct in this. All right, didn't see anything like a Snapcaster Mage being flashed in there. So now I get to Imperial Recruiter for something. Do I have my opponent dead next turn to Thalia's, whatchamacallits, Lieutenant? 2, 4, 6, 7, 2. All right, what can possibly go wrong? I don't really know what can go wrong. Like, my position is pretty darn great. I think I'm going to pick up an Orzhov Pontiff. And then pass the turn. This is something that will, like, kind of let me hedge against my opponent somehow producing multiple bodies or something. I don't know. That could have been a situation where, like, if I didn't expect that my opponent was just, like, going to be dead on board, I could just, like, recruiter for recruiter, which is, like, a great line that I love to take against these sorts of decks. Yes, they did not Pyroclasm. Pyroclasm would have been pretty okay. But we got the Pontiff to play around that, right? We got that covered. Alright, so I like Sancta Prelate. W Detention can, like, hit Jason stuff, right? That's neat. So maybe I'll play those. Cabal seems fine. Recruiter seems good. Devout Chaplain, probably not good enough for the random enchantments that they're going to have. Yeah, Fornia, I like that line too. That's totally reasonable. My thought was just, like, grab something that's a 3-drop so I could, like, use my Vial twice, but I've already got the Cavern, so, like, that's covered. And I may play a Pontiff as well. Like, assuming they're miracles, it, like, kills monk tokens, it kills, like, snapcasters, it's just, like, an aggro push if I need it. It's really just going to be a question of, like, how many cards do I have to take out? Yeah, War Priest or Chaplain is totally a consideration. Alright, so what don't I love? From the D&T side, like, I often, like, board out my moms in matchups like these ones. But, like, Reflector Mage, obviously pretty weak here. Palace Jailer can be powerful, but I think we kind of want to, like, end the game before Palace Jailer time, excuse me. So I kind of like trimming, like, some of the 1-drops here, but just because, like, they're likely to get swept under the bus. That is Terminus. Maybe the second Pontiff is too much. Like, having access to 1 is probably fine. 2 is maybe too much. Like, and then maybe I'll just, like, trim a Lieutenant, trim a Mom, trim a Champion, or something like that, and call that good. I'm unsure about whether or not, like, this War Priest should just, like, come in the dark. I'm going to throw it in. If I don't see any enchantments in game 2, I'll probably take it back out. This is a significantly weaker hand than what I had last game. So with any rainbow land, I can cast both of these. Although maybe not both at the same time, because, like, this isn't a human. I can't actually cast this Meddling Mage. This might actually be a mulligan. The more that I look at it. Like, I'm kind of on the aggro-y side of a draw, which I don't love. So, like, the strengths of this hand are essentially that if I draw mana, this hand is solid. If I don't draw mana, this hand, like, really sucks. And I also don't have, like, the mana fixing to, like, cast a bunch of things that I could get off the top, like Freebooter. I think I'm going to ship this one. I like this hand much better. And I will top that. Well, actually, I have double noble. Maybe I don't top that. So, like, I go noble turn 1, turn 2, I freebooter plus mom. Yeah, I'll bottom that. Kind of sucks if my nobles go the way of the dodo, but I think the way this game is looking, I'm not going to beat a Terminus anyway. This is not going to be like the best sort of hand against miracles, but generally speaking, I'm not I'm not too sad about them like being paired against this. Like humans really has draws where you can grind, like when you get to go and like just, oh great, this is living. That's awesome for us. So I think I'm going to do the freebooter uncounterably. See what's going on over there. Boy. No, Ponder did not shuffle. So I'm really worried about the top card of the library just being Terminus. Captain Gouda, thank you. I mean, I really appreciate the comments. I'm thinking about like trying to do a couple of videos that are exclusively for YouTube from time to time. All right. So here's what I'm doing. I'm going to play as if the top card of my opponent's library is not Terminus, because I don't think I'm beating the Terminus anyway. So I'm going to play out the mom. If the top card of their library is Terminus, I will just like concede right here. Yep. So normally, like I play out my matches much longer than this, but like my opponent's hand is stacked, right? Like they've got Mentor, they've got Jace, they've got Council's Judgment, Entreat, like all the tools are there. I'm gonna get bullied this game, so like we're gonna go ahead and just like go to game 3. I'm a-okay with that. Yeah. So Captain Gouda, just to kind of like finish up my thought there about YouTube. I'm going to go out of town a couple of times on weekends in the next couple of weeks. Like I'm taking a trip to Richmond with my girlfriend one weekend. We're going to go to like a bunch of like barcades and things of that nature that we can't really get around here. Just, you know, have a good weekend out of town. And then I'm going to Greensboro this weekend to go and just kind of like mess around. Going to go to round 1 in the Lost Ark. And just like play a bunch of like Japanese rhythm games and stuff like that. All right, so you don't think Deputy is worth it for the possibility of exiling Jace? That's fair. I'm mostly just excited to try out this card, so I want to like board it in a bunch, maybe a touch more than I should, in order to like get a feel for how good it actually is. So I think Thursday or something like that, I might like sit down and just like either do an extra stream or like record a video and post it to YouTube of some nature. Okay, so I'm going to keep this one. This is a little bit of an odd hand. I'm really kind of hoping for a disruptive 2-drop off the top in order to make this hand, like, good. Otherwise, like, we might be, like, in a weird, awkward, aggro-y position for the first couple of turns. But all in all, I think that's fine. So, kind of, even though the beginning of the game is... Never mind. Beginning of the game is not awkward. But I'll finish the thought. Even though the beginning game of this hand could be awkward, like, Recruiter plus Jailer means that I'm going to have a great ability to grind through something like a board wipe. So Captain Gouda, like, one thing I'll say in response to that is that the deck also plays the Noble Hierarchs, right? So if you compare this to D&T, it has a couple less lands, but you also have those mana dorks. Well, I'm going to get the Swords to Plowshares out of the hand, I think. I could get kind of ballsy and leave it there and just, like, take the Ponder instead. Like, the Swords to Plowshares right now isn't actually doing anything because of bomb protection. So let's think about the next few turns. What am I doing? I'm probably, like, playing Recruiter. Yeah, it might just be correct to take Ponder. The thing I don't want them to have is Brainstorm, because if, like, they Brainstorm and Terminus me, that's all sorts of bad. I could just take the Terminus, but I don't think Terminus does anything unless they also get Brainstorm. So I'm going to snipe their Ponder. The goal is to just kind of keep them off balance in these first couple of turns. That's not bad. So I could freeboot her for something. Like, I could freeboot her away a Jace or a Terminus, but they're not in danger of, like, casting either one of those right now. So I could just, like, Imperial Recruiter for something. If I cast Recruiter, what am I getting? Probably just, like, Sanctum Prelate. Or Meddling Mage. Let's get the Sanctum Prelate. Again, the cards I'm, like, most scared of my opponent having are their 1-drops right now. Because their hand's kind of awkward. And if they use their like entire turn to like Snapcaster Source of Plowshares my mom, this is a-okay with me. There's Jace and Terminus around the corner, but I don't think I'm scared of those. It's a little weird to say, but I don't think there are issues right now. Oh yeah, we're totally slamming this Jailer. The only question is, like, do I want to attack with Recruiter first to give them the option to, like, block with the Snapcaster Mage? The answer might be yes, so they can't get it back later if they, like, somehow take the throne, but I think they're real far away from that. But I don't think my 1/1 matters very much. So I'm going to give them the opportunity to trade. The Imperial Recruiter can become a 2/2 next turn off of Thalia's Lieutenant. But if they never get this Snapcaster back, I'm okay with losing it. So they're going to play... Oh, nope, they drew a Ponder. So they're not going to, like, play Jace into Terminus, which is cool. And that was a shuffle with the Ponder. Actually, they missed a land drop, so I just am mistaken about them having another island. That's great. So that's the Brainstorm that puts the Terminus back on top. So we'll shut off Terminus. And then I'll play out Mom. Now, if they also have Swords to Plowshares here, they get to, like, Swords to Plowshares the Prelate, then Terminus my board. But if they don't, I'm just in awesome position. All right. So this is probably about the time where I can start to get a little more aggro in terms of my plays. I'm trying to figure out, like, what my opponent has that would lead them to, like, taking the lines that they're taking. I think I'm going to, like, play Thalia into Thalia's Lieutenant and then turn a bunch of creatures sideways. Sure, you can target Brainstorm, which now costs 2 mana. So I'm good with that. And you also can't force of will the Thalia's Lieutenant because you've tapped out. But what do I know? That one I can't attack with. And obviously we'll hold the mom back. We don't need to be like crazy aggressive here or anything like that. About the only card I care that my opponent could have is like land plus Supreme Verdict. Outside of that, yeah, even Mentor is not all that scary right now. Like, I'm just going to go wide of that very easily. Very, very easily, apparently. I probably just have my opponent dead here. So if I just attack with everything right now as is, my 2 3/3s get blocked, or I guess 2 of the 3/3s get blocked. My opponent takes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage, so I do need to play more things in order to present lethal. I can, like, Pontiff, shrink their team, or Pontiff, grow my team. I can also just play, like, Meddling Mage plus Freebooter, which I think I'll do. Well, this, like, just playing 2 creatures only would grow the Thalia's Lieutenant, actually. So I can just, like, play Pontiff, shrink their team. I guess Mom's also an attacker this turn. So if I play 2 creatures, that grows this to a 3/3, and I can also strip some stuff from their hand. Then... Actually, can I just attack with everything right now? Just turn everything sideways with, like, the Mom damage? So 2 3/3s get blocked. I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage. Is there any free spell that they could play? No, but I could give them the opportunity of Force of Will if I cast anything. So I just attack with everything now. These 2 get blocked. 2, 4, 7, 8 damage. Yeah, I can just attack with everything right now. If I had 1 more mana, Eddie, I'd totally be fine with that. But I can't, like, cast a 2-drop and Pontiff in the same turn, since I only have 4 lands. Thalia's Lieutenant was real good that game. It isn't always great against Miracles, like, because sometimes they like remove your first couple of creatures or terminus you, and playing this on an empty board feels real bad. But at the right times, this card is just, like, nuts. And so just like that, we're up 1. 1-0 in matches so far. I get it. I do. Personally, I have a really hard time playing Magic while watching anything. Just, like, kind of how I tend to, like, really focus on a game, and I try to, like, really pick up on everything. And I find I can't do that nearly as well if I'm, like, trying to watch someone else's content. Because I get sucked into what they're doing, and I start thinking about their games, what I would do in their situation, and then I'm, like, just detracted from my own game. I guess it's something, like, you get better at if you like, do it a bunch. Like, you know, I'm kind of getting used to the whole process of, like, streaming and jumping between screens and that sort of thing. But I don't know what it is, but I can't, like, watch a YouTube video while I stream unless it's, like, just music. I can't, you know, have Pulp Fiction on in the background while I stream without just, like, focusing on Pulp Fiction. It's kind of my problem. Great movie, by the way. One of my absolute favorites. On my short list of recommendations if you haven't seen that one. But it's certainly not a movie for everyone, is probably a kind way to put it. Yeah, I can see that. It's kind of like, how some people can work really well if, there's music on in the background. Whereas other people, they want quiet when they're studying or working or whatever. It's just kind of whatever works for you. Yeah, yeah, White Faces this is a fine time. Do you just want to do ticks or do you want to do like PayPal? You're gonna have me electro-dominate people. Well, that sounds mighty sexy. I'm in for this. Oh, that was the best way that I've probably ever been trolled in my entire life. Thank you for that. Highlight of the stream, for sure. Please ship me the deck list later. Facebook, Twitter, whatever's fine. All right. So, Chad, I can't update it right now, but now we're at 2/3 of the way towards my donation goal of playing some exhibition matches versus Phoenix. So that's real exciting. Teaching's great. I know I like talk about my real person job from time to time. But really it's a very rewarding field. Right now, I'm in sort of a mythology unit with my Latin 1 students. So we're going through and we're talking about Hercules, Jason, Theseus, and Perseus, and kind of like the idea of the hero pattern and what it means to be a hero. And it's a lot of fun, because right now I'm essentially just getting to tell stories on a day-to-day basis. All right. So I whacked keep on this hand, and I don't regret it, but I realized that I have Ancient Ziggurat, which is only used for creature spells, so the hand's a little worse than I initially thought. I still would have kept this, I think. Because, like, I can still, like, play out a Vial on, like, turn 2 if I want, and, like, work towards that longer game. But this hand is definitely worse than I thought it was. So, Innistrad Revenue Service. Hand got a little sketchy now. It's fine. It's fine. I am a high school and middle school teacher. I taught college level classes when I was in grad school. I've taught or TA'd both classical mythology and a culture course called Are We Rome. But right now I'm just teaching Latin 1 and 2 in Roanoke. teaching's not an easy job. Like, it's hard. Not in the ways that you might expect it to be hard, but in subtle, odd ways that you don't really understand until, like, you're in the shoes of the teacher. Because you're put through some weird situations on a day-to-day basis. But it's very rewarding. Like, you kind of see the sort of, person that I am being on stream, and, like, what I'm doing is still, like, using my teacher skill set and all that stuff. Man with a plan, thank you for clipping that, by the way. I'm gonna need that for reasons. All right. We are off to the races, chat. So we're gonna play the other champion of the parish now, rather than the Mother of Runes, and we're gonna try to race with these two. Now, the reason we're playing the second champion is so that if I don't draw a land, I can actually use the Mother of Runes to grow both of the other champions. These things are hopefully going to be huge and take down this game. Arid Mesa. Oh, we're probably just playing against Blue-Red Delver rather than Grixis. We might have some lizards on the other side of the battlefield. So this Wasteland is probably better served by casting my Ether Vial than, like, actually Wastelanding them. My opponent is scared. I like it when my opponent's scared. Force Pitching Ponder. That's okay for us. Will I trade a champion for a Delver? I don't know yet. Let's see if this Vial resolves. Vial does resolve. So if I trade the champion, and my opponent's top card is an instant or sorcery, I'm probably happy with that. But these things can get very, very big. The issue is that I don't have the things to make them super big right now. I think this is a decision that can go either way. I'm going to offer. Yeah. The easiest way for me to win this game is my opponent to just, like, flip those Delvers and aggro me out before I aggro them out. And they have recognized that as well. All right, so they flip to a Force, which is not super scary, but somewhat scary. That might mean that I just won't, like, resolve creatures to pump these so that I can race. This is terrifying, though. Like, this just creates chump blockers and invalidates my champions. Alright, Noble Hierarch can be vialed in. So I will cast a Kite Sail Freebooter. If my opponent has a blue card, this gets wastelanded. Or, sorry, this gets countered. Which maybe means I should have attacked first, but if I attack first and they just have, like, Brainstorm or something like that, it's just, like, super bad. Yeah, okay. So now I get to snipe that Force of Will that's in their hand. Their hand is hiding under my hand. I'll take that Swan Force of Will, or whatever it is, weird bird person. I'll attack with the champion. On the surface, offer the trade for the young Pyromancer, but that won't actually be happening here. I messed up and missed a point of damage there, by the way. I should have vialed this in. Well, that's even worse than I thought it was. 100% willing to trade for the young Pyromancer here. That is totally a problem card at the moment. Life's pretty bad right now. So I guess I can attack in with the champion, then my opponent just jump blocks. And if I attack in, then they swing out with everything. Am I just dead? I guess I could attack in with both, see what they do. If I attack in with both, I'm representing 3, 4, 5, 6 damage. Huh. I mean, I guess that's the best I've got. Wow, this is, like, surprisingly good for us. Thank you, I will pass that along. They're real good people. And I mean that in, like, every meaning of the word there as well. So I'm actually... I have potential to just win this game. So I have 6 on board. Playing a creature means that I have 7, 8 on board. So I guess ripping something like a Alright, never mind. Ripping something like a Pontiff would have let me win that game. Come on, let me see what my card is. Or not. That's fine too. I didn't want to know. Alright, so what do I like versus Delver? Izzet Staticaster and Pontiff are pretty good against some of the smaller threats, especially Young Pyromancer. Ball seems sweet. Sanctum Prelate, better in this shell than in, like, D&T. I guess Deputy of Detention is also removal. But kind of slow, clunky removal. I guess this falls into the pile like I'll consider, but I'm not happy about it. All right. So what are my feelings about the matchup? Honestly, I feel like most of my cards are fine. I think like we had sort of an awkward start with the Ancient Ziggurat Vial, and our opponent like did have double Delver Flip very quickly to out aggro us. So I think we were just kind of on the wrong side of the equation there. Maybe this isn't the best like meddling mage matchup. I can see like that being an easy cut. I'm unsure about like Deputy of Detention here. Like it's a removal spell, but like we already have Reflector Mage for bounce. Maybe Deputy of Detention. Now, Reflector Mage has like 2 power base. That might make it better than Deputy of Detention. Yeah, Jailer's certainly slow here. I could see cutting that. Let's slip these bad boys in here. I want to play with them. Let's be real. Then I need to make 1 cut. I'll impulse cut a Recruiter just because, like, you kind of just want to play the cards that you draw against Delver rather than, like, tutor things up. All right. This hand's fine. I'm going to keep this one. I get to lead on an Ether Vial, you know, best card in the deck, not close. So my opponent's blue-red Delver. They're probably not like too Wasteland heavy or anything like that, so it's probably just safe to lead on one of these and jam the Vial. If I had a 3-drop that I like really wanted to play on turn 2, I would consider leading on Noble Hierarch over Vial, but that's not the world that I'm in right now. All right, they are pitching a Preordain, which is somewhat notable. Not overly torn up about losing the Vial. Yeah. Hey, little friend. You're going to meet my little friend, and hopefully we'll murder you and everyone you love with 1 card. How does that sound? Does that sound good, buddy? All right. That's the plan. Everyone's favorite Salamander Drake. How can you not love it? Look at it. How can you not love a face like that? Go on. Like, tap that, play a Delver for me. Yes! Yes! All right. Don't have another force. We've got days covered with Hierarch, so it has to be force. You have activated my trap card, and it feels so dirty. I am also gonna go like hyper aggro next turn, by the way. I don't know if you've ever played two Thalia's lieutenants in one turn, but it feels pretty okay. Another small pro tip about mana in this deck. You use Ancient Ziggurat first to cast spells when playing against like Daze decks, because it can't actually pay for Daze. It can only be used to cast the creature spells, not pay for like additional taxation effects like that. You sometimes run into some weird problems like that. Like, Tabernacle is another like similarly templated card where Ancient Ziggurat doesn't actually do what you want, but you accept it because like it's a 5-color land with almost no drawbacks. We'll just forget about that like triple vial Ancient Ziggurat hand we just had. Wow, what was this? Rough Tumble? Rough Tumble. Alright, fine. I already took away 2 of your creatures, so I guess it's only fair that you take 2 of mine. Now every creature off the top is just insane. Hey, do you know what's better than the second Thalia's Lieutenant, chat? It's the third. I will offer the trade, I think. If I trade this Thalia's Lieutenant for a Delver and I leave my opponent with no threats, I think that's fine. I don't think they can win the game unless they like flip this Delver and start going to town on my life total. So what do they have in hand right now that they couldn't cast? It might just be something like a Force of Will that like they didn't have a blue card to go with. Mountain. All right. I don't know why they played that out rather than hold it, but there may be reasons. I guess there's a world where they could bounce my Noble Hierarch and I might want to replay it, so I guess I can cast this with no downside. Rough Tumble is the answer to that. Took away my Noble Hierarch and my Pontiff a turn or two ago. Stop that. At this point, I'll hold this. Opponent ripping hot off the top here. Yeah, I mean, 3 bolts in a row for 3 Thalia's lieutenants. You know, we've matched each other in that regard. This isn't actually a very good ponder, though. Like, this is gonna just, like, probably shuffle away the bad things from the brainstorm. So at this turn, they're really just, like, probably paying 2 mana to, like, draw a new card. Yeah, so they've shuffled. So they've taken a random card. Yeah, white faces. I agree. I would have held that brainstorm for 1 turn. But they're super rewarded for their actions. So what do we know? Well, that was pretty ideal for them. And this isn't really doing anything, unfortunately. So my opponent has a billion things in graveyard, right? At least 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So this can become a big at will. I'm probably just dead. I'm not going to concede because, like, my opponent kind of has to respect the vial. And they could very easily die to something off the vial. I don't really think they're going to play around it, but it should be on their radar. Alright, what's the world where I win this? If I take 8, then either one of these creatures is lethal next turn. The world where I win this might involve, like, just chump blocking this turn, taking 3, cracking back for 1 with the Hierarch, and then trying to, like, draw something off the top. Like a Deputy, a Reflector Mage, something of that nature to, like, deal with the threats that are on board and speed up my clock. So I will take the chump block here. Yeah, I do them online. So I think they work better in paper because, like, you can really play with your body language when you do a vial pump fake, and it's more likely to get your opponent to respond to it when that's the case. Online, a lot of people are like, yeah, whatever, that's fine. So a lot of times when I'm playing online, I do it at times where, like, I clearly could have something and it might influence my opponent's plays. But I'm much more psychological and active about doing them in paper rather than online. How do they do it? So the idea with a vial pump fake is you activate your vial even when you don't necessarily have something to put in to try to get your opponent to respond to it. All right. We have floated out this time. GG's. Top of the deck was not going to be kind for the next few turns. So be it. The Vial Pump Fakes don't really take that long. I don't find them as effective online. Oh, okay. Sorry, sometimes by the time I've, like, gotten around to, like, seeing what a message was, I just have to kind of assume what it was referring to. Gotcha. I apologize. I figured you knew what a Vial Pump Fake was. You're around here all the time. We really fell apart on that light up the stage turn. That was a rough turn. This hand's fine. This is an aggressive hand, though. So, kind of the way this hand is going to play out is we're going to go, like, aggressive card into probably Sanctum Prelate on 1 and hope that's good. So we're probably playing against Maverick, which is the kind of deck I didn't really want to play against with a start like this one. Even more so now. Like, Sanctum Prelate and Thalia are both kind of like B-tier cards in this matchup. So given that information, I think I'm going to try to hold my Thalia's Lieutenant for kind of as long as possible and try to put counters on as many different creatures as I can. If my opponent didn't lead on Noble Hierarch, I'd be very happy to wasteland them, but I think I'm just going to, like, need my mana this game to, like, play out as many cards as I can. So we will play out the Thalia, which is mediocre in this matchup and will be boarded out for the post-sideboard games in all likelihood. But that's fine. We love Thalia here. Yeah, Innistrad Revenue Service. I think that, like, when you get into people who are into older formats of Magic, a lot of times they're, like, adults or, you know, at the very least, like, college-age students or beyond. And a lot of times they're just, like, reasonable human beings who just, like, oh, man, this is awesome. Super happy with this draw. They're just, like, decent humans who really just want to play Magic with the deck that they love. And they sit down and they play that deck, and that's what they do with their free time. Like, this is just, like, Time Walk on a creature. This is so good. And they don't even get to, like, replay the night. And now I'm just whacking for 5. Then, like, next turn I'll get to play the Thalia's Lieutenant and just, like, crash in for large numbers. Oh man, my opponent removed the Thalia. That's great. That was the creature that I cared about the least on the board. You think your Sylvan Library is going to save you. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Don't think you're going to draw any cards off of that, friend. I hate to tell you. Or play Sanctum on 3. Why would I want to play Sanctum on 3? Because, like, this says non-creature spells. So I'm not sure what you want me to, like, stop there. I don't think I need to, like, play around something like Toxic Deluge or something like that, given, like, the life total that my opponent's going to have. Oh, you forgot this non-creature. Okay, great. There we go. We'll also knock my opponent off a black while we're at it. Taking them off a mana is just, like, great when I have this many bodies on board. Okay, so question, like, what is the black splash for? It depends. A lot of times the black splash is primarily for sideboard cards. So it might be, you know, things like Surgical Extraction, Thoughtseize, Zealous Persecution, you know, maybe a Planeswalker or two. It's not unusual to see some number of, like, Abrupt Decays and or Assassin's Trophy in the deck as well. I have registered a Legacy deck list with Ob Nixilis before. I don't remember what it was. I think I was playing a Grixis Control deck before Grixis Control was, like, its current iteration. I was messing around with similar things, but I had, like, Ashiok and Dax instead. Deck building wasn't quite optimal, but it was a lot of fun, and I threw that in as a one-of sideboard card. Oh, right, there's the creature, too. All right, so there's a Jitte on the other side of the battlefield. That probably doesn't matter, though. I'm going to play another creature, though, just to whack my opponent for larger numbers of damage, because I think that's important. I'm going to put that on 99. You know, I know what you're saying with Sanctum Prelate on 1 being optimal, but I really like it on 99 here. Just feels better, you know? I considered that, but I didn't want to be offensive to some people. Harry, there's the correct play, and then there's the play that I made. We all knew that 1 was the correct play. Like, it's very clear that the only possible thing that can, like, let my opponent live 1 more turn is a Swords to Plowshares. But, like, since casting Swords to Plowshares would leave my opponent with no creatures, and I still have, like, 4 different creatures on board, I felt very confident in casting it on 99. Alright, so what do we like here? Pontiff and Staticaster are great against the little mana dorks that they can have. Probably play Devout Chaplain and Manic Vandal for pieces of equipment on the other side of the battlefield. Probably play another Recruiter, and we'll consider the Deputies as well. Look, when I'm having fun, I play with my food. Yeah, let's be real. Death and Taxes isn't always, like, the deck where you can, because, like, a lot of times, like, you're winning on very slim margins. But, like, when Humans is winning a game, my god, this deck is just winning the game. And the matches aren't close. So you get to have a little more fun sometimes. Alright, so Thalia's bad, Sanctum Prelate's bad. Kitesail Freebooter also kind of medium, but it does like fly, and it can take some cool cards out of our opponent's hand. You know, there are still going to be things like Swords to Plowshares on the other side of the battlefield. We do need to not fear, but respect some things like Zealous Persecution. It can pull equipment out of their hand, cards like Sylvan Library, so like it's not a bad card. So like the Freebooters and Meddling Mages are kind of medium in my opinion. So I'll probably cut some combination of those two cards. I don't know if it's like a trim 1 and 1, or if one is just like explicitly worse than the other. That is unclear to me. Right, opponent is playing magic cards. Of course we should bring in Surgicals. So Hunter Christ, with this deck list, we have some things like Deputy of Detention and Reflector Mage that Imperial Recruiter can get that Recruiter of the Guard can't. Just because like one looks at power and one looks at toughness, so that's kind of what's going on there. Good question. I'm going to cut one of each. All right. So I love Orzhov Pontiff in this matchup. I think that card is just insane. Gets rid of Mom, gets rid of Nobles, gets rid of some of the smaller threats that they can play, but it's not good enough that we can keep 6 lands and Pontiff, even when our opponent has mulliganed. Ugh. So, one thing I talked about with some of the humans people before this stream started was that this Plains might be a little bit sketchy in the deck list, just because there are so many colored cards in the deck that like having one Plains to like hedge against Blood Moon effects and to have something you can search up Path to Exile may or may not be worth it, and it's kind of coming up right here. Yeah, I agree. This is the best hand that we have drawn so far, especially now that we have the Vial. Opponent is a bully. Mr. Achilles over there, confirmed bully. So I'm just going to play out Wasteland and pass. I'm not actually going to Wasteland my opponent. I don't want to do that. I want my mana. But playing out Wasteland and just holding it up kind of protects it from Wasteland. That's a little scary. That is a Wasteland machine, and there's another Wasteland in play already. Everything I know and love is going to die. So Horizon Canopy is an okay land to draw because it's still like kind of protected from Wasteland, right? Like if my opponent tries to Wasteland it, I just crack it in response. But life's still real bad. Yeah, but here's the thing about that math. They have 2 plains or forests currently, but there's only 2 plains or forests that they need, because there's only 2 wastelands left in the deck for them to get. This is just gonna get a Jitte. Please don't have Cradle. Please don't have Cradle to get Jitte counters now. Alright, good. Oh, Eddie, it was bad. It was real bad. Alright. So I can Palace Jailer away the knight and trade with something they attack in with, and then, like, leave them with Jitte counters and, like, wasteland all my lands. Yeah, some versions play a 1 of Cradle to tutor up with Knight because it can let you do some really stupid things. So I want to explain why I'm pausing here. I'm pausing here because I might not want to show my opponent this Palace Jailer if I don't think I can win the game. I'm only going to be exiling the Knight for 1 turn, and then they're getting it back. So this isn't permanent removal. So I think I'm just going to scoop this one up. We couldn't beat the double wasteland start after the mulligan to 5. Like, I know my opponent hasn't wastelanded us yet, but, like, the damage is there. Oh, so that's a good question. Yeah, you have the 12 rainbow lands, so, like, what would we play instead? It could be another Canopy. Like, there are other rainbow lands, but, like, the rainbow lands with downsides. I think stock is, like, jam 1 more Canopy in there. Yeah, Eddie agrees, so I must be right. Because, like, just kind of, like, consider your openers. Like, a lot of times, like, if you have a Noble in hand, like, it's one of the first things that you want to play out, and Canopy lets you do that, whereas Plains doesn't. Yeah, agreed. Like, that hand, like, definitely has other problems. Yeah, we wanted that Plains to be a rainbow land. It being Canopy would not have made it better. So that's a fair point. I don't think I'd want to play a third Caracas in this deck because, like, you just have your own Thalias that you can bounce, and, like, it only produces 1 color of mana, right? And you really, really need to play lots of stuff in this deck. So you say that as a joke, but I have legitimately killed some people like that before. This is kind of a medium power level hand, but I'm going to keep it. Again, Orzhov Pontiff, very, very powerful. There's some consideration to play Horizon Canopy out on turn 1 to try to protect my black source from an opposing wasteland. But I'm going to try to, like, lead on some strength rather than, like, hold this back and then get it wastelanded later. I'm kind of hoping that my opponent, like, doesn't play out a Mana Dork or something like that. I mean, Hunter Christ, at that point, like, you could just play an original dual land, right? You can just, like, shove a Savannah or something like that in there, and that would just be better. So I have 2 choices for this turn. Choice 1 is, like, I just go aggro with these wastelands, like Eddie suggests, and just, like, try to chip away at their mana base, and eventually assume that Champion will be a big, and Pontiff will take Mom off the board eventually. I kind of like that. Choice 2 is just, like, Kitesail Freebooter them. I'm going to take this line. Whoa! Wow! I did not expect that block. Opponent is scared with all the letters capitalized. Like, that seems so bad to me. Like, Mom invalidates champion, like, literally one turn down the line. I do not understand. How high is the fail rate of freebooter on Maverick? Well, tell you what, why don't we find out? I want to play this card before they have the opportunity to, like, slam a Sylvan Library or something like that. All right. Hand is kind of garbo. I can either take their sword or, I mean, I can take all the cards in their hand. Find it kind of interesting that they didn't cast the Green Sun Zenith for Dryad Arbor to accelerate into the sword. So, the Green Sun can be a real threat in a couple of turns. The sword is the card